fue un fracaso el festejo y el centenario, todo un desmadre. Ay, 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 pobre del AME, en la final de la liga contra los Tigres valieron madre.
Well, I couldn't think of a better way to jump into the CantinaMX podcast with a nice cantina version of Cielito Lindo that was played by the Tres Tristes. You know, that's one of those tongue twisters in Spanish. I can never get it right. Tres Tristes Tigres that played that in their homenaje to the Liga MX final, which Tigres, of course, won last Christmas in shocking and dramatic fashion, and very enjoyable for all those involved. My name is John Jagu. Thank you guys for joining us. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the CantinaMX Podcast. We have a lot to get to tonight. We have well, I'm not going to lie. I think it's the executive version of the podcast. We have a fellow gentleman is joining us from California. I'm talking about Joel Aceves. Joel, good morning, good evening, and good night. How are you?
¿Qué hola, John? Doing
¿Qué
pretty.
¿Qué me dices, Joel?
Hey, you know what? Listening to the three sad tigers, it's something I've been talking about, how creative Mexicans can be, and just how they use Cielito Lindo, how they just, they use the tone, the tune of that, and to make fun of Ame. It's just pretty funny, and I just think, why can't we do that at the stadium? The best we could come up with is just one chant, one word chant.
Right, and not only that, but the whole Cielito Lindo thing, which I think the first time I heard that at a physically in the stadium, but heard it sung in the crowd was when they scored. Mexico scored against Ireland in Orlando, and of course, when you see that for the first time, you start singing along. It was it was a pretty good moment for Mexico. That was the first time I ever heard that song sung in the stadium. I don't know if they'd done that because I know they definitely didn't do it in 1986 in the World Cup in '86.
I think the Spanish fans had been doing it during the U.S. '94 World Cup. So we kind of borrowed it.
We borrowed our own song. Is that what you're saying, Joel?
Well, the song originally is from Spain, though.
Like Don Quixote is from Spain. I mean, come on.
Our version is the famous one, the world famous one. But but I mean, I do think we have a lot of material to borrow from, and the whole, because FMF is still dealing with that chant, and there could be repercussions, and it's like it's pretty juvenile now from the fans, and
they're not going to be repercussions. There have been repercussions. There will continue to be repercussions. I mean,
no, I mean like the stadium ban. I should say more repercussions, like getting the stadium banned, or maybe even getting booted from a tournament.
Well, I mean, it's a point deduction. I mean, there's a whole list of things that could happen. I mean, we need to pull that, and so that we don't speculate as far as what the
and that's the thing,
penalties are.
We have so much stuff to borrow from, especially that the Mexican culture lends itself to, and we're stuck with just yelling "puto," man. It's like.
Well, it's like I told you when Guadalajara beat America 3-0 at the Azteca. I mean, I'm thinking, you have easily the most famous Mexican song on the planet has the title of your city in it. And I've never understood why the fans don't. Maybe they did in the past. I know they played like little snippets of it in the stadium and stuff. But I mean, honestly, I mean, you hear that song, and I've said it many times on the show. Se me pone la piel bien chinita when I hear that song, and I mean, I'm not even from Guadalajara. I can't imagine what it's like, hearing that being from Guadalajara.
Yeah, it's one of the things that got me into the team when I first started watching games.
I mean, seriously, Guadalajara is such a great song that even when it's butchered like this.
Sapi sa puratiar mohara, tienes el alma di pavresciana, hueles a libre rosa temprana.
It still sounds fantastic.
That is the king, though.
That is true, and he did sing it at the Perla down in the Mirador, which is again, if you've never been there, be sure it's one of those places to see before you die. It's one of the coolest. It's probably the coolest bar on the planet.
He's in Acapulco, but he sings Guadalajara.
Exactly my point. Because what else is he going to sing?
Loaded.
What else is he going to sing?
He probably was loaded.
Yeah. So thank you for making my point, Joel. We got a big weekend, you and I, Joel, coming up.
Oh yeah, yes, John. Pumas Chivas opening week. First match of the season for both teams.
We'll have to dig into that a little bit later before we can't not introduce the rest of the panel. We can't just dominate the conversation, Joel. We have to be at least somewhat polite. So with that, without further ado, we will introduce over in Kyle, Texas, our technical director of the CantinaMX Podcast and social media director, computer saboteur. Now, you're in information security, so does that mean that you're a legalized hacker?
I don't know if there are legal aspects to it, but well, actually there is. Yeah, most commonly referred to like an ethical hacker.
An ethical hacker.
Companies give me legal rights to mess around with their computers.
Right.
So yeah, loads of fun. I would say on the chant, the one-word chant, and all that stuff, though, there's really no organization. Like Mexican fans are pretty much just like drunkards that go out to have fun.
Well, not all of them. Let's be honest.
There's not enough organization to go. Like maybe Pancho Villa's army could do it here in the U.S., but in Mexico, there's no one that goes. You just go to have a fun time.
You know what? That's actually a really good point. I think that we should talk to
Sergio or
Juelito, yeah, and Sergio, and say, hey man, maybe y'all should give the example.
Yeah, because you see that in Argentina, like they come out with stuff. Even when we played El Salvador a while back, that showed like their fans out in the yard practicing with drums and all kinds of stuff. They were at least were organized. They had like a porra section and stuff.
Right. Well, I'm sure it's. Well, yeah. I mean, just you have to remember, there's different crowds that go to different games. So let's not forget. But of course, I'm talking to Albert Campa Chiquis is what we like to call him. He is in Kyle, Texas, and he joins us.
Wait. Chiquis raised an interesting point about organization.
Well, let Chiquis say hello first.
Everybody. Yeah, it's a good evening. Good to be with you guys.
All right, Joel, as you were saying.
No, the whole organization. I just thought about, because in Mexico, all these, pretty much all of the teams have their own, support groups, which sing songs for their teams. But when it comes to the national team, these support groups won't even come together to make similar. And if they do, we just, it's not there where we could hear it.
Well, I think it's one of the reasons why Mexico should seriously consider moving their qualifiers to different parts of the country, because I think that different parts of the country support the teams differently. And I see enthusiastic crowds in Monterrey, and I've seen Mexico play in Monterrey in the past, and I think that maybe that would be a good starting place. Reward the fans for for being loyal to their clubs by giving them a game like this.
And I'm going to need to latch on to this more. And how much is this also with the Federación? Because if they don't give tickets, if those fans don't get tickets to sit together, then they can't be able to organize. So.
Well, one thing I noticed when I went to Mexico City for the Canada game, the people surrounding us were Pumas fans. And they spent the whole game just on tirades, yelling at all the America players like Layun, and just cussing at them, saying how they suck. So to me, I get the impression that it's more like a club over country type of thing. And the national team is sort of second and not really important to at least some fans, where they rather cheer their club and hate national team players that are from Chivas or America. They're rivals,
Now, Chivis, you're not under oath. Right. You're under no obligation.
All right.
Did while you were there, did you were you infected with the virus for a little bit? And did you give a La Yuna a little what for while you were there? Just to kind of blend in and make it look like you're one of them.
Maybe a little, not too much, man. But they were getting annoying a little bit, so I didn't want to join them fully. I did laugh at them because there wasn't even the men that were doing this. You had like women that were just.
Yeah. Was it funny at least?
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. Her potty mouth as anything, man. Passing up all kinds of stuff. We talk about.
Did you learn some new words?
No, that's a typical, but combination of words was quite creative. That was pretty. It was pretty funny.
Well, there's a lot to be said about someone as a wordsmith who can use and I'm from Texas. Well, I'm not from Texas, but I live in Texas. We call them cuss words as every part of speech. That is just a real talent to be able to do that. As a noun, a verb, an adjective, an adverb. And also as as the subject, the predicate, the object, the direct object, the preposition. I mean, there's so many ways. It's just it's really impressive. Really impressive to be able to do that. So it sounds like you were in a group with a bunch of linguists and scholars.
Yeah, they were educated at UNAM. They were slinging that out like no other, man. I was impressed.
That is fantastic, and a good recommendation for what one might expect when going to Ceú to watch Pumas play, especially if you sit next to the. Well, there's the Rebelde, there's the Rebelde, right? And there's the Ultra. Those are the two big barras there. They're at Ceú.
Yeah, La Rebelde.
We need to go do that, Chiquis. We need to go down and catch a Pumas game one weekend. Because they fly from here now, right?
Oh. Yeah, they do?
Yeah, we can fly down Saturday night, catch the game, come back Sunday.
That'd be slick. Yeah, and I got family there in Mexico City, so I can hook up with them.
Oh, yeah, so do I.
Wait, I've never asked Chiquis, but you're a Pumas fan?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Chiquis officially. Remember, he cambió gatos last week. He switched. He switched cats and is now a Tigres fan.
Oh,
Yeah.
he jumped.
well,
Cambia rayas.
That's right.
Se puso rayas.
That's right.
Se puso rayas, but no, he's never been in your face with the club. It's one of the more gentleman-like conducts I've seen from a sports fan. It must be Albert's.
they've been sort of quiet as of late, so like whenever they play America or Chivas or something, I'll get into it. But in general, they've been quiet. Like back when Hugo Sanchez was with the team, I was loving it. So some good time.
It was, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, we have another gentleman that has joined us and out in Southern California in Escondido.
Good job.
Dan, is it cold enough to have a fire in Escondido right now, or are you?
It's cold enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I probably shouldn't complain. I'm not complaining, but low 40s.
Wow, I think it's actually colder there than it is here. And of course, it's like 50 here, and I got a fire going because like I said earlier,
I was impressed. I saw the video.
50 degrees in Texas is that's like parka weather for us. So
I gave up. I'm using those logs now, like basically those candles that they're basically candles.
Right. The sawdust soaked in kerosene.
Yeah, those. They don't exactly smell like burning wood, but whatever. It heats up the living room.
Excellent.
It looks nice.
Glad to have you aboard, Dan. 2017. I think your boys in green could surprise a few folks.
Yeah, the team goal is to get to 30 points, which is basically winning at home and tying away almost. But and Happy New Year to everybody.
Oh, I thought you were jiggling a drink. I was like, man, that sounds like no.
Oh no. I'm definitely jiggling a drink, man.
It is the cantina.
It is
the
cantina.
It would be appropriate.
And I wanted to break out the Tullamore.
Oh, good for you.
For my Irish friends.
I am myself am enjoying a little fresquecita here on the CantinaMX Podcast. 30 points is very ambitious. I'm thinking if you got like 24, you would be pretty happy.
Yeah, but aim high,
Sure.
I guess. But I honestly think, obviously, a lot of things would have to go right, but I think the team can do it, though. I've been listening or reading a lot of negative commentary on Chepo, and I think I'm slowly trying to harness my inner Joel.
Wait, Dan, is this commentary from fans or media?
Oh, soccer fans from the boards.
No, I've seen this. I've seen this many times, and it's a great way to become a villain once you're at the national team, because it happened to Ojitos Mesa. And
he only ended up being the most successful coach of the 21st century in Mexico.
Yeah. What he had done with Necaxa, Nesa, Toros Nesa, and then at Toluca, it's very impressive. Then he goes to the national team, and he failed hard. But after that, people would just talk really bad about him. It's almost as if whatever he did no longer counts.
And then he went to Pachuca and lit it up.
Yeah, he was still very successful, and to this day, you rarely hear good things about him.
And to be fair to him, the talent level that he had at Toluca was frankly not as good as what he had available to him on the national team. Of course, he had one of the second greatest striker in Liga MX history playing for him, and that helps.
Oh man, yeah.
That guy couldn't miss. He was just a machine. Cardoso, woo.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up, John, because there's people now that I guess they're newer to the league and they see Gignac, and they're like overly impressed with the Frenchman. It's like, yeah, if you would have seen, Cardoso, he was way more dangerous.
Yeah, because he could score from anywhere. He could rip it with the right or the left. Gignac obviously is the same kind of player, which I call a tall player that isn't a tronco, a guy that actually has a tall player with ball skills. And Cardoso was the same way. But he scored much more frequently than Gignac has. There's no question.
Yeah, he scored way more goals. I think his record was about 26 goals one season.
In a short season.
Yeah, in a short season, which is like.
That's pretty impressive.
The best players get up to 12 or 14.
That's Messi, Ronaldo numbers right there. They're averaging 50 a year.
Yeah, he was scoring at a serious clip, and then he'd go to Paraguay and he couldn't. He turned into a guy that just couldn't do anything. It was
sounds like Messi.
Well, Messi at least. Messi, may miss some crucial shots in big games, but Messi gets them there.
That's what I was going to say. Messi gets without Messi, they don't qualify.
It's funny you mentioned that, Juan, because I remember watching when they had the Copa America in Argentina, which I'm sure the pressure for the Argentines there, because how many out of the 23 that play in a Copa America actually play in Argentina? I have to think that almost all of them, if not, definitely no less than 20 all play abroad. Have been playing abroad for their entire careers.
They'll have like the third goalkeeper and
right,
one or two bench guys.
Yeah, and so imagine the pressure that those guys were under. Playing at home, even though they never play. It's gotta. And then I remember watching. I can't remember who it was again. Maybe it was against Uruguay when they lost, where their entire game was give it to Messi, right? And Messi would have to go, and the scary part was he'd have to go through like 6 or 7 guys, and he would almost score. He almost scored like 3 or 4 times, and it was just the saddest thing. It was like you guys are Argentina. You guys have the the most consistent, most talented individual players on the planet. You guys have surpassed Brazil, and you guys are so nervous and so rattled that the only thing you guys can do is give it to your best player and hope he can weave his way through to score a goal. And it almost worked.
And you know what, John? It's a different type of pressure because these guys are used to a lot of high pressure, high expectations. Playing for big teams and playing in all these top tournaments. But this is a whole different pressure where they're representing their country, and so it's a whole different meaning for them.
Sure.
Well, I
At
think
that
it's
point.
clear when after they got bounced from the Centenario. I mean, he was ready to quit. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, he did quit.
That goes, yeah. I mean, but that goes to show how much the pressure got to him, and not being able to deliver in that key moment. Just
Well, there is this story, Dan, about at the club's World Cup, and Barcelona played Real Madrid. I mean, Barcelona played River Plate, and so the story goes that Messi met in the locker room and he told the team, "Hey, take it easy with this, guys. Once we have the match win, no need to run up the score because then I'm never gonna hear the end of it when I go back home."
I heard the same thing.
When they played who? Who was it?
Club's World Cup,
Oh, right.
Barcelona River Plate.
What was the final score?
I don't remember, but that was when
They went easy. There was only 8-0. They went easy on them. It was only 8.
It was
got like
it was an easy win. I think it was like 3-1, 3-0, something like that. But yeah, I heard the same thing, that they kind of told everybody, let's not run up the score. Basically, too bad.
Do you think that if it was Boca Juniors, he would have had to have said it?
Probably said the same thing, man. Probably more because Boca is the more popular team.
Well, he's from
Right.
Newell's. I think he was from Newell's. So I don't think he's Boca or River.
Oh, I know he don't care, but I mean, as far as like,
No, he was getting harassed at the airport supposedly when he got to Tokyo from the Argentine fans. I think they were already harassing him.
It is funny though. It kind of it brings to mind some of the commentary that I've heard, and I'm not sure if Juan Carlos Osorio said this, but like the expectations that the Mexican team has compared, it's like the expectations are there like similar to that they would be for like Brazil and Argentina, except Mexico's never actually done it. Oh, all right. Testing out new buttons, all right. But I kind of just, part of me, trying to be objective, does feel bad for the team, because it's like this team has never actually done anything that warrants the expectations that I'm gonna say we place on them. Because hearing this stuff about Messi, it's like you hear the same thing with the Mexican teams, except they've never actually given us a reason to expect those things.
Well, Dan, the thing about it is, when you have everything, it's like the rich kid that the parents give them everything.
I definitely wouldn't know this, but go ahead. I'm still broke, but go on.
It's what I'm saying is that they have the infrastructure. If you think about just the amount of coaches that they've brought in that have won World Cups, So I mean, the infrastructure, the money. You get to a point where it's like they have everything. At some point, they have to start winning, and I think that's why they have the expectation. I mean, we're not Salvador. We're not Costa Rica. I mean, we have money. We have infrastructure. We have TV.
Youth systems. Yeah, no, I that you bring up a valid point. I definitely think that, I don't know if this would be like an accepted point of view globally, but I definitely think Mexico, generally speaking, has underachieved.
And when you said globally, yes, Korea, Japan, China, they also have leagues that with pretty good infrastructure and money and stuff like that. But let's be honest, they really don't have the footballing culture that we have in Mexico. So I think that's why people have that expectation that, hey, we better do something.
It's interesting that you bring up China and some of those Asian countries that are bringing in a lot of money. I think, with the 10-8 rule, I think the MLS even more so now because they're losing. They're going to be losing out on a lot of those players that they wanted to sign to a lot of these some of these Chinese teams. I definitely think they're going to start looking at that Mexican market a little bit more.
Yeah, but like to me, the Chinese market it would be the equivalent of the like the Qatari or the the Middle Eastern leagues that they play that they don't mind playing paying Batistuta
But
obscene amounts of
Ron,
yeah.
Ron, the Qatari league was getting these guys at the end of their career.
Chinese.
China's getting them still in their prime, and but that
like Robinho and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, the players that Robinho.
Not Robinho. They just signed Alex Whitstall.
They signed Oscar.
Oscar, yeah.
Those guys which Dan MLS wouldn't have been able to get those guys.
But this goes.
Well, I think that's the market that they were trying to go after because I definitely think that. I don't know if it's something that they would admit to, but I think they realize that going after the has-been star is not. It's not translating to success, and it's not improving the league, and it's not really helping in any sense, really.
Do you remember what Nino Torres said when he went to when he left Atletico Madrid when they were basically nobodies, just a couple years back, and he went off to Liverpool? You remember the comment that he made?
No.
Something along the lines where his representative, whatever, basically said that if you don't go to a team that's constantly in the Champions League, you're basically a nobody. And so he went off to Europe. He went off to England for that because he wanted to be with a team that was constantly in the Champions League. So more cameras would be showing him, and he'd be known, and obviously more money, more revenues, and blah 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 blah. If you go to China, okay, yeah, they may be paying you obscene amounts, but I see China how I see Mexico 40 years ago.
That China's market is bigger than anything that we have over here.
No, I understand that, but I see China as Mexico 40 years ago.
On the global stage.
No, in the sense,
in their own development of as a soccer playing nation.
Well, no, yes and no.
Well, what they're trying to do though is skip a bunch of steps,
and it's not going to happen, and it's not going to work because I mean, honestly, when Mexico was playing the Liguillas in the 1970s,
how do you know it won't work though? I mean, if they have that amount of money,
it doesn't matter. We had the money too, but the logistics have been killing us.
I don't know if they had that kind of money.
The logistics have been killing us.
The kind of money they're throwing at players who arguably wouldn't be worth it, no one else would be paying those sums. I think it speaks to the amount of money they actually do have. At the very least, I think they're definitely hindering the growth of other leagues who are anxious to try to woo players like that. And to John's point, he mentioned earlier that MLS was never going to get those kind of players, but I think that's what they want.
Okay.
Well, eventually it's what they want, but yeah.
My point is this, and to me, it's no coincidence that you have Uruguay, Argentina, and Brazil that are all neighbors and have all won World Cups. Similarly to Spain, France, Italy, they're very close by. One of the things that always hurt Mexico was we didn't have the U.S. U.S. at the time didn't really invest much in soccer. Canada, no. For political reasons and war and civil war in Central America, we didn't really have competition. So we were playing.
I see your point though.
In a bubble.
I guess that China, whatever they're doing, it probably won't translate to success. That's fair, but I mean, I guess I'm more interested in how it's going to affect. I guess. Not so much me, but the region basically.
You can be selfish, Dan. It can affect you. We'll allow it.
Well, I just that's kind of like where I guess with the vantage point where I was looking at it, I'm not so much concerned because I agree with you. I don't think any of these gimmicks ultimately work. I think ultimately time and an established culture is what would ultimately translates to success. That and obviously a lot of luck and organization and money and all that, but. But just throwing money at it, I don't think is well. It's been done before. I mean, like you mentioned, Qatar's. Some of those teams have thrown a lot of money at players, but it doesn't. It's not exactly leading them to
when I
better
see,
play, I guess.
When I see China,
It's funny you mentioned that, Ronnie, about China being 40 years behind Mexico. Didn't a Chinese team play in the Club World Cup last year?
Guangzhou, well, yeah,
They did.
Yeah. Like
Joel, who was it that they played in the Club World Cup?
Come on, let's hear it, dude. Push the button.
Who was it? And correct me if I'm wrong. I think they beat them. Did they not? So
they did.
40 years
but
behind.
I think it was more so America beating themselves.
Wait a second. Was the ref involved? Is that why America lost?
No, that's actually a game.
Where's the chart?
That's actually a game that America.
John.
They had it, and they just pissed it away. I think they just they were screwing around too much. Darwin Quinteros and them. There were so many goals that they could have scored, and they just fucked it up. And they just crashed the bird, dude. It's not because the Chinese team was good. It's because America just played bad.
Ah, okay.
They just burnt. I mean, that's what pissed me off about that.
That brings up another point, though. I'm curious: are those teams as competitive? Are those leagues as competitive as the Mexican? Because I kind of feel like that, and I don't know if you guys would agree, but I think if you rolled out any, maybe even up to the top 10, maybe even top 12 teams of the Liga MX, and they would be able to perform at a basically at the same level as any other team would in a similar competition. Like if you picked any one of those top 10 teams in Liga MX and had them in the World Cup, they would all perform relatively the same. Whereas I don't know how these Asian teams are. Are they top heavy? Because it seems like those teams are about equal level. They seem pretty equal to America. They didn't seem all that inferior by any stretch.
I honestly think, Dan, it's the same thing that happens to Mexican teams where they play to the level of their competition. Where the one game they can play they're playing toe to toe against Brazil or Argentina, and then they play a team from the Caribbean, and they're basically struggling. I think it's one of those things. I'm not trying to knock on the Asian teams, but I see, like I said, I see China like Mexico was 40 years ago. They're bringing in, in the off seasons, they're bringing in, they're playing their little pentagonales and stuff like that, bringing in Chelsea, bringing in Barcelona or whatever.
Do you think that? Do you think La Volpe's America played to the level of their competition?
I honestly thought they were tired.
Vamos, América, esta noche tenemos que ganar.
I honestly thought, that they were tired.
Yeah, did it look like they hadn't gotten enough sleep?
No, I just think the jet lag,
Did they need their whoobies? Did they not have their whoobies on the field? Is that what happened?
I think Mexico. I think the calendar affects, and like I said, the calendar's always affected the Mexican teams.
You actually raised an interesting point. I would like to see that Chinese team play Club World Cup against America on this side of the world and see what the result would be. I think it would definitely probably tell a different story.
How do you coax the World Cup away from Japan?
It's been done.
They played it in Morocco. They played it in the one of the Emirates. They bid it out. I mean, I've been saying for years, Cancun, where's your stadium? Bid, put a stadium there. You can bid for the Club World Cup. It'd be terrific. Who wants to go to? No offense to Tokyo, it's a beautiful city, I know, but it's December. It's cold. You want to go make it a treat for the teams to go. Not that Tokyo isn't a treat. I know it's a terrific city, but it's chilly.
That Miami team in MLS is just hungry to get started. They'd be chomping at the bit.
They're gonna have guys falling over themselves, to get that big designated player contract to go play in Miami. I mean, Miami, if I'm not mistaken, is like the off-season hangout for a lot of European soccer players. Is that correct?
Well, just the states in general.
Well, but I mean, but specifically Miami.
Yeah, Carlos Vela goes there. He's a Miami native.
Honestly, I see with them more in Los Angeles and New York.
No, but Miami, it's I'm telling you, I wouldn't surprise me, but I do know that Miami is.
I think Miami covers just about all of Latin America.
Yeah,
more so than anybody else, than any other city.
Which again was baffling. Why Miami didn't get any of the Copa America Centenario games?
It's because they're a terrible sports city, John.
I think it was in New York. No, it was in L.A. I think it was the summer before Cristiano Ronaldo landed, Real Madrid. He was partying, in the offseason in L.A. and they caught pictures of him and Paris Hilton, and obviously, the paparazzi and stuff like that. They say one night in Paris.
You still want to show me your cucumber?
Yeah, double barrel drops tonight. Hey, whenever a random guy, I liked it when Random Guy was on a couple weeks ago, except when he got too logical and on point. We couldn't have that. We could not have that. Okay, one of the things I want to talk about tonight, and it was very interesting, just the timing about these two events that happened was, and I'm glad that you hopped on, Ronnie, because I know you can give us a historical perspective, more so than anyone on the show. Was so Rafa Marquez yesterday at a press conference, and he says one of the things he wants to do is to start a players association so that they can come together and at least have a little more say and how or just a little more say in the business. I think it's great. And then not 6 hours later, your buddy over in Veracruz, Joel Carlos Reynoso, who frankly, for those that don't know, is probably the greatest player that's ever played in Liga MX. I'm sure it's up to debate, but I'm sure that there's, you could maybe name one or two more players that had a career better than him.
John, it's fun. It's funny you say that. My dad's not the biggest. He's not a soccer fan. He just he'll watch the national team. But even then, he says that Reynoso was probably the best player ever to play in Mexico.
Yeah. So Reynoso's now coaching Veracruz, and in his press conference, he says, "Oh, by the way, we have a couple of players, but we're not going to pay them until they show me something." So, boom, right there, you see why Rafa Marquez, this one would think, is trying to bring some sort of unity to the players to give them a.
Before Ronnie answers,
yes, sir.
One of the players is Mosqueda.
More Mosqueda.
Yeah,
and he said he's fine with that.
Honestly, I back Reynoso on this.
Well, I mean, I'm fine with it too. But I mean, not in the sense that, but give the guy like a 10-day contract. Pay him something. Pay him some shekels.
Look, More Mosqueda. Look, think about this: More Mosqueda, El Torito Silva, Enrique Esqueda. These were all really good players that, and I can obviously we can all name a bunch of them, but Landin and all these, but they're players that eventually the money got to them. They just didn't, they weren't the same. So I think with Reynoso's trying to basically get them hungry again. Yeah, trying to get them hungry again, because More
literally trying to get them hungry again.
Yeah, I mean, More, if you recall, was Rookie of the Year. I mean, he had some.
I thought he was a second coming. Honestly,
yeah, he was sick. The ball skills he had was sick. I mean, the tuneles, the nutmegs.
Know what made him even scary was that he had all kinds of goal in him. He was.
I remember this one goal where he made a Calero look like like an idiot. It was just. I mean, this guy had some serious skills, dude. But like I said. I think Reynoso, I think he's just trying to motivate the player. And it would be stupid. It would be stupid for More Mosqueda to raise his hand and ask the help of a player union to help him out. I said at this point.
The point is that a player union would have or an association would say, hey, you can try players. I mean, the NBA does it all the time, but they just give guys what they call 12-day contracts. It's a 2-week tryout. Uh-huh. And they pay them a minimum amount for that, and I mean, that's, I mean, you're not expected to go bid and then get a job and go, but this is just a trial basis. We'll pay you after that. I mean, there's pro bono, but I mean, it's like, that's, I personally think that's something that's what Rafa's trying to do. I mean, there's no reason why the owners would have all the power. I mean, they got to be able. The players have to have some say. I mean, they're the ones that are playing. They have to have some say in where they want to play and how they want to do it. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
You know what?
But there are other players that have tried. That's why I wanted to
talk
about that.
When my uncle when he finished his how many years? I forgot how many years he did it in the Navy. He was actually stationed in Europe. He's an engineer. After he got back, the market was pretty tough. This was during the 80s. And I don't know, John, you probably remember, but like the oil crisis and all that type of stuff.
Sure.
And so when he came back, he went to work for a company. No one was hiring, so he went up and showed up and said, "Look, hey, you don't have to pay me just until something shows up." Within 2-3 months, boom, landed a job, and super successful. So I'm just saying, it's not. It's More Mosqueda is serious about this, and obviously has no problem with this. And I think Reynoso's, Reynoso's just trying to motivate the player.
And do you think it's going to work?
I hope so.
He was very talented.
He was. I mean, I see another talented player, and I've texted this in the private chats. You probably remember Joel, the player for Chivas, Alejandro Nava.
Oh yes, striker. Right?
Yeah, he was a striker. Bravo eventually took his spot, but the guy was super talented, and I mean, he's played for second division teams in Guatemala, dude. That's how low he fell. It's pretty bad, dude.
Right in the back of a pickup truck to this game.
Yeah, I mean, when he
if he's lucky.
Yeah, I know, and I mean, over there, dude, there's only like maybe 100 people. Like seats for like 100 people, and everybody's just climbing on trees, just watching the game from
it's like going to a Chivas game now. It's like going to a Chivas game now, only 100 people in the stands.
I mean, trees, though. No, it's when they pay for the ticket, it's sol, sombra, o árbol.
Dude, look at Chiapas, man. Look at Chiapas. Look at Moy Munoz when he gave that press conference in Chiapas. That's pobreza, man.
Yeah.
You think that they're like all high and mighty with America and all this money.
I missed it. What did he say?
He just said his typical stuff about trying their best. He wants to still be on the radar for the national team, but the backdrop for the press conference was just a green wall, like a cement wall in like one of the Mexico.
Didn't Chiapas?
They only had black and white cameras, so it was black and white 4x3. Really jittery.
But hey, Beto, didn't Chiapas upgrade their stadium and stuff like that? Doesn't it look? I mean, it looks nice from the outside.
I don't know, but where they had the press conference, so like inside of
an insane asylum,
a prison.
Yeah, like had the cement because I mean maybe they didn't have the backdrop with the logos and all that stuff, or I don't know what the deal. It was just a green cement wall.
Did they have the Adecanes?
How hard is it to print out a sign with a Jaguar?
Right. I just.
Yeah, so like Chiapas, and I think I heard that they can't even play. They can't even pay a majority of their players.
Well, what I read today was that they're solvent for at least six months.
Yeah.
So everybody's up.
So Mexico can't be considered like all high and mighty when they have teams on their first division that should basically be dissolved because they're so
that are living month to month.
Hey, Beto, keep in mind, dude. That's not just in Mexico. That's all over the world. Rangers lost their place in the first division. They were not only did the state come in and take control of them, they had to start all over from the fourth division, from the Scottish League fourth division.
But there's a difference, Ronnie. So something was done about that. I think Juarez shouldn't even be in first division right now.
Well, I think eventually it's gonna, same thing that happened to Colibris, where bye. I think that's what's gonna happen.
I'll tell you what needs to happen is that whoever if they do end up staying up, they're gonna get sold, and then they should go to Zacatepec. That would be cool. That would be another place to go. Y'all ever been to Zacatepec?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes.
How's the tourism in Chiapas? Is it just
It's
jungle?
It's ecotourism, and they actually do really well with ecotourism. And they have some of the most some of those beautiful natural resources in Mexico, as far as lakes and rivers and parks.
It's so goddamn hot.
It is that. It's also 95
honestly,
degrees.
man, I was barely able to stand Cancun for that
Seriously,
reason.
Cancun is bone dry, man. Don't ever go to Houston. That's all I'm saying. Don't ever go to,
I was
especially in
dying, man.
August.
They for work they sent me to Costa Rica. I hated it. I was like, go to the beach. It's beautiful. I went to the national park and I was just like miserable.
Was it the humidity or what?
Yeah. It was
80.
It was like low of 78, high of 89, and it was just all humidity.
118% humidity.
And I just melted, dude. I never felt so uncomfortable in my entire life.
Yeah,
So
Dan, I recommend your next family trip to go to Astro World in Houston in August. You'll love it.
Dude, I love that. I love that.
I did too. The last Astros game I worked, Astro World was still open, and the TV crew, because the games would always be over like Sundays at 5. Well, Astro World on Sundays, like, is only open till I forget what it was. So they always just let people in at there's only a couple hours left. So the crew would all go once they were done setting up, like around 6, and for like the last hour and a half, the park is deserted, so they could all go and ride the rides a couple times. It was a lot of fun. I love.
Is this like a Six Flags of Houston?
Yeah, it was the exactly what it was. It was the original that one in Dallas, were the original Six Flags in Dallas, obviously. Yeah, I did love Astro World. It was a lot of fun.
Astro World was a shit, dude. I loved it, man. I used to go there all the time, dude.
Yeah, I realized that where I live is probably where I want to just stay all the time.
Well, imagine, we were just in there we're just walking around, and imagine playing in it. That's why, I don't really believe that the players are going to be all that upset that they don't have to play in Chiapas anymore. I mean, they used to play at 5:00 in Chiapas, and they used to play at 5:00 in Torreon too. Like, that is just criminal. I mean, who does that?
You know what? I've been in Torreon. I don't know. There's a difference. To me, there's a difference, man.
Well, granted, it's not as humid, but it's still 110 degrees.
I've always said, I don't care if it's hot or humid. 100 degrees is 100 degrees. It fucking sucks.
Yeah, but when 80 degrees sucks, that's when I never knew 80 degrees could be like awful. That's how it was for me. I'm like, what the hell is
there are days
going
when you
on?
dream of 80 degrees. 80 degrees sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that's how pampered I am.
Yeah, that's pampered, man.
Like, here's the thing though. Like, when we used to, when I used to play, back when I was a kid playing in Southwest Texas and stuff like that, I was fine with the humidity. It's when we would go up into into the Panhandle and stuff like that. And when we were playing in the hot, it's hot and dry. You're burned. It's like it burns your skin, and that's what I hated that.
It makes for ugly football.
It's true. But like I said, I've always said that, I don't care. 100 is 100.
Yeah, but the point is, though, is that a team like Chiapas, whether they play in Chiapas or whether they play at Torreon or in Saltillo or wherever it is, they just can't run their club like that. And who has said that the club should be dissolved? And if you can't do it,
what are the other clubs that are kind of like teetering? Was it Puebla?
Puebla was, Atlas was, they were on the edge of the cliff for 30 years. How many times every season would you hear the Atlas, they couldn't meet the payroll again this week? So the players or the players protest because they didn't get paid and stuff. I mean, it happens. Although Atlas, they were just, there was no reason for that to happen there. But and Juárez is in the middle of the relegation battle. That's them, Morelia, and Veracruz that are in it.
I think everybody's hoping Chiapas goes down.
I mean, honestly, they played so badly in last. I just don't see how they can get more than like 15, 16 points because they're
They managed to be worse than Santos.
Yeah, I mean, they only got 9 points. Santos got like 16 or 17. So they had a, and then
No, it was an awful season. It was an awful season.
well,
I mean,
but
that's
it's
why
not as
like
bad. It's not as bad as Morelia because Morelia had an awful season 3 years ago, and they're paying for it right now. So if they can stay above, then they like when the season's over, if they stay in the top flight, they go from like 16 or 17 up to like 9 or 10. So I think that's the reason why I think Morelia is going to stay because they actually have a reason to stay. And Joel, you had mentioned in our hopefully weekly chat that there's a team in Europe that is possibly considering maybe looking at the possibility of collecting themselves a team in Liga MX.
Atlético de Madrid. They have a similar deal in India with the Indian Super League. So but I think the venue they want is San Luis. So that a lot of the talks is that they'll buy a franchise and move it into San Luis, or buy into. But I think they want to be involved with the with the with the state, sort of like what Pachuca did.
Right.
Because Pachuca used to go. They used to flip flop between first and second, and then they ended up doing some deals.
But why specifically San Luis? I mean, what's the other? I mean, there has to be other advantages other than.
I honestly don't know.
the natural beauty.
I think Ronnie Bird would be more.
Well, it's
One of
semi-industrial, isn't it?
San Luis, for me, one of the girls with the nicest pair of rack that I've ever seen was from San Luis.
Well, that has to be
the
reason.
I'm sold.
Yeah,
I'm sold on
That's
that.
a good reason as any, I suppose.
Joel, they should move Guadalajara to San Luis now.
But it probably could just be based on the venue and the proximity to other, to other clubs,
Well, all right. Well, what do you think, Joel? Is it going to happen? Not going to happen?
Well, I think the governor of San Luis was talking about it. I did not keep up on it for whatever reason.
Is it the governor of Chiapas, like the team's general manager, or?
That must be one of the reasons.
Because they used to have a deal. Was
so
that part of their ownership deal? Was that the state of Chiapas covered some of the operating expenses, at least?
Yeah, that's something that the Athletic wants to do. They don't want to like pay for everything. They see it as a
great deal.
Well, they see it as a good way of expanding their brand.
No, I understand it. I mean, again, it's like who would you go for something like that, Joel?
If I'm the governor of San Luis, yes. Yes, Atlético San Luis has a nice ring to it.
How about Atlético Potosino?
Oh, that does as well. But it's something that I saw happen here in Los Angeles when Chivas USA. It was very similar. They just went about it they went about it the wrong way. But I do think stuff like this can work.
We have Atlético Potosino to thank for Neri Castillo.
Yes, we do. That's where his progenitor used to play.
Man, maybe a topic for another day. But I mean, Ronnie was talking about the guys that America had right after Cuau had left and went to Chicago Fire. They had Mosqueda and they had Avila, and they had another one, didn't they? Oh, and Esqueda.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if those guys would have been able to fulfill their potential, just how devastating America would have been.
Well, Paleta was for some reason he had, what was it, that I forget, Dan, the stuff that's on your, like, what is it, the plantar fasciitis or whatever, what is it called?
Oh, plantar fasciitis in the arch of your foot.
and apparently that's a pretty big deal. Like, if you had problems, because apparently he had a problem with this for like a long, long time.
Have you ever had it?
Never. So
Oh.
I mean,
it is. I mean, it sucks just being a person. Imagine trying to make your living with your feet like that. I mean, that's very unfortunate.
I was never a big fan of Paleta, but it must be said he's one of 2 players to score a hat trick in Copa Libertadores.
one of the best plays in the Clásico was Paleta when he made what's his name, Reynoso. He made him his bitch, and there's this really cool play, El Túnel. Did you remember that one in the Clásico?
No, man, that's.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to find that clip. In fact, let me look for it right now.
Oh, man.
I do that to you, Joel, just to stick the dagger in a little.
No, man. Perverting my childhood memories there.
For those of you who don't know, that little clip that we play there is by a Spanish group that when Joel and I were kids were very popular. And when we're talking kids, we're talking like little kids. It was called Parchis. And I burst Joel's bubble twice because I pointed out to him and he didn't know that Parchis was actually a Spanish band. They were from Spain. And then I posted a picture of Parchis dressed in what I think is the most emblematic Club America uniform that there will ever be, which is the V going down and the stripes on the the different colored multicolored sleeves.
Which was designed by a Chiva.
Yeah,
just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and it just I think that Joel's inner child, if it didn't die, it definitely had a stroke. So so we will play that, but it is unfortunate for Ron, and I think that's one of the reasons why America did have that slide there in the middle part of the last decade was because of the fact that they did have talented players and they were prepared. But and then what happens to Cabañas on top of that? I mean, they just the injuries just totally tore them apart.
Like a Greek tragedy.
It's so sad, isn't it? It's just I couldn't think of anything sadder to happen to America to have all that happen. But anyway.
Oh.
All right. I posted it on the Twitter.
All right. Well, maybe Chiquis can. Chiquis, I haven't checked anybody on the chat. Is there anything going on in the chat? I feel bad.
Just weather talk.
Well, that is interesting because for those of you who don't know, right now, at least in Central Texas, the cedar pollen has erupted as it does every time this time of year, and cedar pollen, if you look at it under a microscope, looks like a morning star. I mean, it is like we're breathing sticker burrs. This stuff, it's very abrasive. It causes a lot of there's a lot of people right now that are just blowing their noses everywhere. It's just awful, and we're gonna have this for the next 6 weeks.
I'm suffering over here.
I'm sure you are, as we all are. I'm on like 6 different allergy medications right now because you just have to get on with it. But it's awful. Cedar fever definitely is just absolutely terrible. Hey, Ronnie, did you ever have to deal with the cedar fever when you were living in Texas?
Nah, I'm an alpha male. That shit doesn't happen to me.
Oh, those things don't happen?
No, I'm kidding. I guess I'm lucky, man. I've never had problems with any sort of sinuses. Right?
I'm gonna guess, Ronnie, that when you do get sick, you're like most of us, just turn just a complete baby.
Not really. I mean, no. I've actually gotten better now. Looking that I moved up here.
You're because you're around more people.
No, it's just
built your constitution a little better.
Just with a constant change in temperature and climate and stuff like that, I've gotten a little better. I mean, I don't get as sick really anymore.
Well, the key's always to wash your hands.
Yep.
Wash your hands. But so who makes the drop then? This in this coming thing, is it going to be Chiapas? Is it going to be Morelia, or is it going to be Veracruz, which we didn't even talk about as much?
I think it's going to be Chiapas.
Yeah. Dan, you think Chiapas too? Did we lose Dan?
Danless. I'm on the fence, John. I do think it's between Chiapas and Morelia, just because Morelia it's in last, and
But they're not that far behind. I mean, how many points are they behind in the?
I think it's like 300, but I don't know how the
No,
whole
I
point.
don't. But I mean, they have the same amount of games. So like there's it's just a point difference. I mean, you don't have to look at the porcentaje. You look at the number of points.
Yeah, I don't know how many points you get per win.
Well, you get 3.
No,
As
because
you do in every other league.
No. Percentage wise points.
But that's my point. Is that they both have the same? They have the same quotient. Their number is being divided by the same number. So for them, it's like goal differential. That's where you have to look, because they could end up tied because they're both being divided by the same number of games. So
Who's the both? And
so and right now Morelia is. I hope that your hot pocket is done. So
No,
sorry about that.
This is the points, John. This is the point.
All right.
So in the table in the percentage chart, out of 18 teams, Chiapas is on 16th.
Right, I understand that,
And
but how many
they have-
total points out of the 3 years worth of points do they have?
Well, they have 1 point.
No. I'm talking about like add up, like they'll add up like the number is like 95 or 87.
No, this is the point where they have their quotient, coeficiente,
Right.
1.1529, and then it's Veracruz in 17, 1.1294, and Monarcas in 18, 1.1059. So they have, about close to 400 points difference. But I don't know how the points work. I know.
Well, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Is that so? What number is like close to 90, 95 for Puebla?
I failed that math, dude. Puebla's on 15th place and Veracruz and Cruz.
No. Okay. So I got it right in front of me right here. So, oh god, this isn't like the CantinaMX one, is it? Because it's like super complicated. Okay, here you go. So Morelia has 94 points. Jaguares has 96, and Veracruz has 96, and Jaguares has 98. Okay.
Oh.
So all 3 of them are being that number that porcentaje that you give, their total number of points that they have over the past 3 seasons is added together, and then they're divided by however the number of games you've played. All of them have played the exact same number of games, so all of them, they all are going to live and die on the same wave. So it doesn't really matter what the porcentaje is. What matters is the points. At this point, it's a points race, and
too bad the senator's not here. he would explain why Santos.
Yeah, I mean Santos is 14 points ahead of Morelia. So unless something absolutely calamitous happens, Santos is not going to be relegated. So if Morelia wins, and all they have to do is they're only 4 points behind Jaguares. So this is going to be the most exciting race
they do have
in the league this season.
They do have Ruidas, who was one of the top players last season. But I think Veracruz will be safe. I have faith in Reynoso. You guys were talking about earlier. He's now a coach. He helped save them, and he just returned. After he saved them from relegation, he kind of retired, but he's back now. I think he's going to get the job done. And he got Diaz and Americanista.
Hey, Dan,
turned back to Tiburon, who is Angel Reina. And this could be his resurrection.
Wow. So is that what's going to happen, Joel? Is Angel Reina going to...
No, I'm not saying it's going to happen.
The Angel Reina More Mosqueda combo that saves Veracruz from the drop?
Yeah, it's almost like
the previous Americanistas.
Yeah, the America Rejects Club.
Wasn't Veracruz just a proxy for America anyway? Like I said, it's like where the... I mean, doesn't the Cabezón Luna, wasn't he coaching at Veracruz?
That's true. I think a lot of Americanistas should be.
I mean, when Cuau was exiled, where did he go, Joel?
He went both to Santos and Veracruz.
The first time when he was still.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Necaxa. I think it was Necaxa.
Yeah, first time was Necaxa.
Yeah.
Man, that guy's been everywhere. Veracruz. But no,
It was La Puente. It was La Puente who got his career back up and running.
Was that
But,
after the injury? As you were saying, Joel, about Reynoso.
no, I think he's a good coach, and I think he'll save Veracruz. So yeah, I do think it'll come between Chiapas and Monarcas, and who knows? Maybe the not paying them on time that might tilt, the scale in favor of Monarcas to be saved.
Like you said, they do have Rui Diaz, who's a Peruvian striker who had a really good season last season. They did get 28 points in the last clausura, and they got 20 in the apertura. So I mean, they're gonna rack up. I mean, I think first one to 20 between those two is the one that stays on top, and the other one goes bye.
It must suck for Moy though. You know,
Man,
to end up at a relegation bound team, and he should be.
What did he
revered.
do at Club America to get sent to that?
Yeah, I'm glad Ronnie's here because I wanted to ask him that.
I'm trying to see. I'm trying to look at the directory of Televisa's executives to see whose daughter he banged or something. I mean, who did he piss off?
Yeah, he was involved in that epic campeonato against Cruz Azul, man. That should have guaranteed him he retired with the team. Instead, they sent him through the back door, man.
It was pretty stunning what happened to Moy, and then replaced by Marchesín.
And I thought Chivas treated their players bad.
10 seasons, five trophies. Moy.
Here I thought Chivas was just the only one.
I had heard though that Moy was asking for more money or something. Is there any truth to that?
That's what I heard. I heard that obviously he wanted
more shekels.
Yeah, yes, more shekels. and obviously because I mean he's 38, 39 now. So obviously he wanted more. I just don't like the way how it all went down. Where Marchesín, people knew that he was part of the team still. And
so you'd rather the announcement be made after the Liguilla?
It just looked bad, dude. It looked so bad. And Pepe Romano, the dude from Santos, the dude that I dislike, their owner. What's the Santos their president? What's his name?
Boy, that's a tough one to pronounce too. Iragorri.
Iragorri, yeah.
Iragorri, yeah.
Yeah,
good job.
Guy. I don't like that guy.
Because of his hat, Ronnie?
Yeah.
I think that's something you were like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, exactly.
I saw that guy on one of my construction job sites. If I saw
when
that
you
guy
go
on one
to
of
your
my
job site.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
Oh, man.
I would fire him on the spot.
You'd be like, I wear that hat.
Now, what would you have done if he would have done like a hard hat in the shape of like Sherlock Holmes, right? And he carries a magnifying glass.
He looked like such a tool, dude. He looked like such a tool.
Well, that's something that's actually I've always wondered about as far as Liga MX are the it seems like optics just aren't as important to them as it should be, and then things like that are a classic example, or the way that America handles, the way they handled Moy, or just the way that the FMF handles any kind of national team stuff. I mean, it just what can be done to improve their public relations, because their public relations have always been atrocious.
Well, here's the thing. Pepe Romano made the deal with Iñárritu, right? And did not tell Peláez. So basically, Peláez was pissed that the news came out.
Well, yeah.
And obviously that made it made it look like, Moy didn't mean anything to the team. And
maybe he like made fun of him for this song, and maybe it was like the guy that he did it was like, well, I wrote that song, and that's what happened.
I don't know.
Do you think that that Moy will sing that will have that song in his heart for the rest of his life because he played for America, or do you think that every time he hears that song he's gonna like break into hives and possibly have to find a toilet to throw on him?
I think that Moy. I think Moy's path is going to. I think he's going to cross paths again with America somehow as an executive.
Oh, really?
As either as a some sort of front office or a coach.
It would be really a really good career move for Moy. Is if there was anybody that did Liga MX games in English in this country, then I would the first hire I would make would be Moy to be my color guy.
In Spanish?
No, in English.
I haven't heard him in English, but
he speaks English perfectly. He's perfectly bilingual. He spent some time in Sacramento when he was young, so he speaks English very well.
Yeah, but I haven't heard him as a color guy. I heard him as a color guy in Spanish, and that guy's awesome.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that he would probably be, he would probably be very good in English as well. That's what I'm saying. That'd be my first hire. Would be Moy.
Yeah, he'd be
and that would give your announced team instant credibility. Instant.
Yeah, I see that happening before being an exec or something like that. Although he could do that as well. But look, are we talking about his future or retiring already? And that guy's because basically he's pretty much done going to Chiapas.
Hey, John, you're not lying, dude. I'm hearing Moy speak.
I'm telling you.
I've heard him too. It was surprising. I thought he was American almost. He sounds American.
He was. We just interviewed him. You remember that video where he was interviewing him in English, and Brizuela was back there checking Weasel out. He's like looking him up and down.
Right. Well, it's very unfortunate for Moy that this happened to him. But you know what? I mean, honestly, I mean he's done everything in his career. I mean, what a great moment that would be for him. Is if he could go out, having saved the team from relegation. That would actually be, I guess, that would be somewhat honorable as well.
It is, John. Except he wants to make the World Cup.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Chiapas stays in Liga MX through 2018, and if it's because of Moy, then he would absolutely deserve a spot on that.
So you think Osorio would bring him in at least as third?
Sure.
Goalkeeper.
Well, what was that you said? What was that you said, Joel, when we're talking about Argentina about the roster spots 21, 22, and 23?
Yeah, for the home base.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, seriously, I mean, because it would seem like if Chiapas did stay up, then it would be, I'm sure a lot of that would have to do with the fact that then Moy's playing really well at goalie, and in that case, then he should absolutely merit some considerable thought as far as being taken to Russia.
Ochoa needs someone to hold this clipboard.
That's actually the one who needs is Picolin, because Picolin would be the second guy, so it only needs to hold Picolin's clipboard. And sad times for Pumas fans, as I'm sure you heard, Chiquis. I'm sure you got the report that Picolin Uno, the defender of the Picolin, is finally retired.
Yeah.
Oh, did both of them retire now?
No, just Picolin number one, the defender. Who I want to say is he Francisco? I forget.
Where was he playing?
He was playing. I think he was in Monarcas, but I don't think he was playing very much, if at all. That was when I last saw or heard of him. Was at Monarcas.
Do you think they were talented? Do you really think they deserve to be in the first division?
Monarcas? Well,
the Picolines.
Of course.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I thought Picolin Uno should have been. I thought that he should have merited consideration at least when he was younger for the national team. Absolutely.
Yeah, when you have players like Massa on the national team.
Yeah, I mean he was no better, no worse than Massa.
Especially back in the day.
And I'll tell you what, he had a little bit of sass to him too, which is one of the reasons why I liked him.
In the CONCACAF, the times when they played the MLS, he would scrap, dude.
He scored a goal in Houston.
Yeah, I know.
That just
that
cracked,
back heel?
Yeah, just cracked me up.
Yeah, that back heel like off a corner set piece or something like that.
Martin del Palacio and I have had this running joke for years about the Picolines. Like I forget when it was like 4 or 5 years ago. He's like, who should I? He said, I have a vote for this. Who should I vote for Players of the Year? And I always said, well, you mean other than the Picolines? He goes, well, of course. I'm talking about 3 and 4. So we just had the same joke for years about the Picolines. And honestly, when in 2005 when they made the Sudamericana run, a lot of that was due to him too. That's when he first started out. When I saw him there, I thought, well, this guy's going to be on the national team for 10 years. Of course, I say that as a Pumas fan who's seen, countless players, when they're young like that, have a career trajectory that gives them a 10-year run on the national team. So I thought that's what his destiny was.
I'm personally sad that I didn't get to see Picolín actually playing a game. I don't know why, but there's something about him that just I like him a lot. I wish he'd be at least part of the team on some level.
Well, I think that hopefully he will. Maybe that'll be what they call the Pumas feeder team, the Picolines.
I just think the international game needs those kind of antics.
I was hoping that I think he played in a friendly. I think it was last year in Miami. Their February friendly, which I think Chiquis went to that, and Picolín was on the roster, but he didn't play. And I think Daniel and I were hoping that he would play and do some of his travesuras to provoke.
Well, the greatest one where he did it, I think Ronnie was wrestled when Pumas beat America, like a couple of league years ago. And he did some crazy flailing around.
Oh yeah, he is quite the man. He's like one of the worst people at the finer points of the dark arts, but he fails so spectacularly that it's almost like you have to wonder if that's what his shtick has been all along. That, like, I'm going to do this so badly that they're going to have pity on me, and then they'll go ahead and give me what I want anyway. It's just his flair for the dramatic was very melodramatic. There's no question. All right, so we all think it's going to be either Chivas or Morelia. I personally think it's going to be Morelia just because of the fact that, like I mentioned earlier, if they can jump up, 6 or 7 spots if they survive this year, then I think that's going to be a huge motivation for them to play. And I'm not so sure that the Jaguares have that kind of future. I think that they'll be in the drop over the next couple of years because their bad seasons have just happened. So they're going to, unfortunately for them, be stuck in this mess for the next couple of years. Now, I don't necessarily think that they're going to survive. But let's talk now about the other end of the table, the championship and the clausura. Very, very difficult for either Tigres or America. History has shown to make it to the final again. We've only had a couple of teams repeat in Liga MX when they went to the short season, and both of those had actually struggled to make the Liga. They both qualified as 8 seeds. Pumas did it, and also more recently, León. They both qualified as 8 seeds, and they beat the number 1 seed, and the rest was history, and they were able to repeat. So I think that we can go ahead and just right off the bat just count Tigres and America out for winning the Liga MX trophy. So out of the and of course we've already counted out the Jaguares and Morelia. So out of the 14 teams that are left, gentlemen, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win the Liga MX championship?
John, I see my goats having a good chance.
Really?
I see America.
Well, Joel, again, I have to ask you, and I ask you every week, if the Chivas Comet makes an appearance will you sing this for us?
Y usted no me va.
Oh, not that. That's on the wrong page. Good Lord. Would you sing this? Or would you sing?
I don't have the pipes for either.
No?
You can try. You can give
Okay.
up.
Well, you can do a little of this.
Guadalajara, Guadalajara, Guadalajara.
But in all seriousness, Joel, you think that that Chivas are the team to beat?
Not the team to beat. I think they're in the right spot. In the last 2 seasons, they've been a top 5 team. If I'm not mistaken, they finished 4th. So, of the top 5 teams to win the Liguilla, and we're discounting 2 for the reasons you already said. They like to call it campeonitis, but it's most often than not it's just the preseason, not having enough time to rest. It just catches up. So I mean, you take out these 2 very strong teams in Tigres and America, and you out of 5, and you're already one of those top 5 teams. The other teams are about, they're about to eliminate each other. So I do think the possibilities are there for Chivas to swoop in and swoop in, I should say, and take the campeonato.
Chivas, huh? And if that happened, Joel, would you be reborn as a Chivas fan again, or would?
No. I mean they. I've been more critical than most Chivas fans because a lot of these players in the squad already made a semifinals, and the team against America, they had the advantage just closing at home. So to me, it was a fracaso to lose at the Jalisco against a team that had already beaten twice, and they could have made the final. They were pretty close. They could have been the one playing against Tigres, and we saw that the match against Tigres was pretty, America Tigres was tight contestant affair. You just didn't exactly run over them.
Now, is Tigres? Do we know if Tigres placing any more importance on the CONCACAF? Because I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a priority for them to try to represent.
I honestly would expect Tigres to make that at least for the first few months, and then once it's over, go where are we? What do we need to? What do we need to make the Liguilla? And then they'll see if they'll make a run. They'll make a run or not. Now as far as Chivas is concerned, though, Joel, I think Chivas' biggest obstacle this year is, they're adding a lot of expensive pieces. These guys, again, it takes a time for a team like this to mesh when they constantly keep changing personnel the way that Chivas does and adding guys and taking guys out, etc. And if Chivas doesn't mesh immediately, if they struggle early, then the pressure is going to start them out, and it's how they respond to that is going to determine whether or not they have a successful season. Because it's going to happen, but both things are going to happen. I think
Chivas needs to progress, man. I think if they go out early in the league again,
of course for Club America that's called Tuesday. So, Joel, does Chivas going to put on their big boy pants, and are they going to go out there and deal with this?
Yeah, no. I mean, this squad's been together long enough already. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying the timing is right for them.
Well, let's. I hope for your sake again it happens, and I hope for everyone that's listening's sake that it does, because again, Joel will decide that he'll either give us the this version
Guadalajara.
or the more common version that everyone seems to love so much. This one. So, Joel, you're on record. It's going to happen.
No, I'm not. I think Juan can hit that tone.
Joel, if Chivas wins, you won't mind belting one for us at all. In fact, it'll be a pleasure for you to do it.
I would be butchering it, John.
We
That's
know.
what- You can butcher it.
Yeah,
I can see
we won't
myself
mind.
butchering that song. It'll be a blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
Elvis can butcher it. You can butcher it.
So Chiquis, who's gonna win the Liga MX title for you? Who survives the gauntlet?
I think Chivas could. Sort of with what Joel's saying, because their players are now all together and they had nearly a whole season together, and now they can start over from scratch.
No, a lot of them been about 2 years together. A lot of the squad has been.
The recent dudes like
Pulido.
I think another thing that may help him also is it seems like Pachuca's. I mean, they lost an important piece.
Yeah, they did, but he didn't play last year though because he had, Chivas got a guy who's coming off a broken leg. Let's not forget. So he did not play as much last particular season. But you're right, he is a very important. It was a very important piece for them. And
then you have America, who's La Volpe is going to start his season from scratch.
And you're recently freshly striped Cambiagatos. Do you agree with Joel and my assessment that the top two teams don't really have a chance to make it to the final?
I can understand that. And the only reason I would give America a chance is because La Volpe is starting a new season. But again, the
my God, have you been converted too? Is this what I'm hearing?
Not really. I mean,
it's sickening.
I wouldn't expect him. I would expect him to fail.
Yo siempre digo que el fútbol algunas veces, en mi punto de vista, es como un ajedrez.
I'm telling you, it's.
This is like, so I would not expect them to win, but they could have a chance. They're going to be tired, even though Ronnie just said he picks America. If they were tired in the final from.
I mean, honestly, do you think Ronnie was gonna? I gave it much thought, guys, and I'm gonna go with Gallos Blancos. I mean, come on, dude. What?
Well, now, John, the reason I say America is because one of the things that they've been criticized for the past 3 years is that they lose because of hotheads. Well,
they got rid of the hothead.
Yeah. Darwin, and I mean, they still have one that to me is a bit of a hothead, but shit, like you said, keep him for fucking free kicks and set pieces. Mickey.
Yeah, that's all he's good. That's the only reason he starts.
Why
and you know what? If I had a guy that kicked him as well as he did, he'd be a starter for me too.
Why would you those two though? Sambu was the hothead. He was the captain hothead on the whole team.
Well,
Darwin and them they just follows Sambu's example.
Oh, geez, no, that's not true.
Sambu's the leader.
Dude, remember, tres por chismoso and tres por.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. Hothead.
But anyway, so I mean, but the reality, Ronnie, is that when we asked this question before the start of the last season, you said, "Well, I think it's going to be America," and then in the previous season, we asked you this question, and you said, "Well, I think America can take it." So let's be honest. If we asked you again this question at the start of the next season,
well, they've been the most consistent team.
You're going to say, guys, I think it's going to be America.
They've been the most consistent team.
They have. They've been. And the next reclamation project has to be Cruz Azul. We need to get Cruz Azul going again. Hey, you have to admit, Ronnie, that the league is more fun when Cruz Azul is good because beating them is all the more sweet.
Of course.
Well, there you go. So why wouldn't you want them to be good?
I did. Like when we beat them, we were losing 3-0, then we beat them 4-3 last season. That was great.
Is there such thing as a Cruz Azul hater? I mean, it seems like we're more like we're like Cruz Azul sympathizers.
I think it's like we like to.
I have hope for Cruz Azul, man. Though with this new coach,
He talks good.
Yeah, I like him. So I hope they do well.
He talks a good game.
That it's gonna be really good or really bad.
But either way, great TV, right?
Yeah, that's what I ultimately think because listening to him talk, it sounds like an interesting style, different from the league.
Well, let's hope it works out for them. Dan, who's your pick?
I'm gonna go with Tigres.
All right.
I think they're gonna sleepwalk their way through most of the season and just do enough to eke into the playoffs. And then I still think they probably have enough and have experience managing it all better than anybody else. I think that they're gonna do. I still think they have the best chance.
All right. Well, I mean, obviously,
because I can't possibly allow myself to even remotely give America a chance to win it with La Volpe. Given a full season, I'm fully expecting him to burn the house down.
Yeah, he. I mean, it's funny because at what point will the hothead and La Volpe come out? Because eventually it will. So.
It cost him the final. The hothead La Volpe cost him the final because
It's true. He started talking smack.
I knew that was going to.
Started talking smack.
I knew Ronnie was going to stab someone.
Directly or indirectly, Ronnie. If he closes his yapper, your boy doesn't get expelled. I mean that's the reality.
He didn't get thrown out though.
No, and neither did Gignac. So it was interesting. Joel's going Chivas. Ronnie's going America. Dan, I'm surprised you didn't say Santos. Honestly, the way things are going.
Nah, man, I can't be that much of a homer.
All right.
I don't really believe that. I think they're going to make playoffs though.
And Chiquis, did you say Tigres too? You think Tigres is going to do it?
I would say between Chivas and America. Chivas needs to win it.
See, I just don't know how anybody could ever predict any Liga MX winner. It's just it is actually so hard. That's why it's so much easier to do the other side. I mean, there's really, I mean, you could probably pick who might end up top of the table.
Because Santos and Cruz Azul could easily come out of nowhere and win it.
Right. I mean, so could León. So could Veracruz.
Rayados, don't they still have those high players?
Rayados too. They're really bad at underachieving. So they definitely have the talent to challenge.
Yeah.
They were just a season off from getting from Super Líderes, I think.
And a season off from playing in the final where they lost in the last minute to Pachuca.
Yeah.
I mean, in the last minute. Yeah. So yeah, but again, it's just. But once you get into the Liguilla, it's such a crapshoot, and I think that's you don't necessarily think that's a good thing. I mean, that's not your favorite aspect of the league.
Although I do think though that the Liguilla format though it only helps Chivas right now because they're definitely I think one of the deeper teams. They could afford to have quite a few injuries and still have really good players to back them up.
They do have a lot of depth, and they have the they can certainly field the. Boy, I can't believe I'm saying this, but they can field a really good Copa MX team and a really good. And a really good Liga team. I mean, seriously. I mean, they could easily put a team out there that would be the strongest Copa MX team without question.
And hopefully the pressure doesn't get to him because Pulido is talking he's expecting to get the goal scoring title and stuff.
Well, let's hope he does. I mean, maybe this is what Chivas needs is a little confidence.
One thing I'll say that this season seems to be already sounding really interesting. I'm already really looking forward to it just because you have Cruz Azul. They're not promising anything, but you're expecting something good or hoping for something good. Santos had a really good offseason with their new signings.
Dan, I am not going to lie to you. I am on my knees praying for Chaton to come back to being what he was.
He's gonna be a beast, man. I'm feeling really good about him coming back.
Well, let's hope it happens. Now, there's a game Saturday night, Joel, between Chivas and Pumas. It's the league opener. It's going to be at the. Is there a nickname for the for the Estadio Chivas?
Not that I know of, man.
There's no Tamalera or Huracan or Volcan or.
We call it the toilet bowl, but that's just for the aerial view.
Right. So Joel do we have to make it interesting, or are we gonna be gentlemen?
What? It's early in the season, John. I prefer to be a gent about this.
Oh, I'm not talking about, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, monetary. We can make it.
You know what, Dan? I actually have Chivas as favorites.
I'll go on a limb. They're gonna win.
Who?
Chivas.
Yeah, they probably are. Sadly, it's very
They're
unfortunate.
they're at home and their squad has been together a lot longer. I think Pumas, what they're doing is, and it's something I applaud. They're doing they're working on a long-term project, which is, I don't know if we talked about this last
We
podcast.
skated on. Well, we were on for like 4.5 hours. So I'm sure we talked
Yeah.
about it for a little bit.
The 522 project, which I think more clubs should aspire to similar things. Vergara tried to get ahead of that. He said Chivas is going to be the base of the 2018 World Cup, which I think he's obviously selling, smoke and mirrors right there. But 522 is it's a good goal to set, and I see what they're doing. So and with stuff like that, it takes usually a bit longer, just when you're introducing players and as opposed to Chivas, who's been, they should be already at the end of what they started like about 2 years ago.
Yeah, so this is a 6-year project for Pumas, and they want to get 5 of the players that they have in their youth system now, or recent graduates, whatever it is, to put them on the World Cup squad. Which frankly, I mean, it's not like that. This would be big news in Mexico, because it's been many years that Pumas, at least Pumas Cantinanos, not necessarily played for Pumas at the time, but Pumas Academy graduates were on the national team. There was they've been, if not the base, then certainly a big chunk of it, and have been since the 70s. So this is, hopefully we'll get back to that, and a lot of really great players since Pumas joined the league in the early 60s have come out of there and just had sensational professional careers. So not that it happens, that's the only place it happens, but there have been some iconic figures that have come out of Pumas.
Hey, John, where did Darwin Quintero end up going to?
I don't think Darwin. I think Darwin is the goal scientist is looking for somewhere to mix his test tubes. Still, he has not found the lab. I think that he's got his lab coat. And,
is he on a free transfer?
He
is because right now La Última Palabra tweeted Darwin Quintero tiene un sueldo tototote que no le van a pagar en México.
Yeah, he's registered. He's registered with America still. That's what they're saying.
Oh. Because I was gonna say, if it was like a free transfer and they could just pay him whatever, then I'd be happy to take him back.
So he might be even too expensive for MLS then, if that's the case. Because they're not going to waste a DP spot on him.
China.
No, he wouldn't. They'll have him in like these commercials where like watching. Did you guys ever see?
You know where he could go? He could go to China.
That's terrible.
And I'm being dead serious.
I know exactly where you're going with it, man. That's terrible.
Hey, it happens. It happens over
They
there.
could go to. He could probably. Where he'd end up running is probably China.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the money. They need players. He'd be perfect over there.
He's a really good player.
And it wouldn't be a bad idea for Mexico to fire up a little trade channel with the Chinese league either.
Hey, what did you guys think of Toluca getting Sambuesa? The reason I asked that, because they're really making a big, well, not the media, but the club itself is making a big deal about the centennial. My stance on that. I really don't give a shit about that. I don't even celebrate my own birthday.
All they did was, they released a song. It was
but like I'm saying, in all seriousness, I don't even celebrate my own birthday. Dude. To me, it's just another year. It doesn't matter. But Toluca being Toluca, they're trying to make it a big deal. obviously with the stadium, and they probably want to have a team from.
Is that not the coolest looking? What they did to that one? It looks fantastic.
It does. But they shouldn't have done that for the Centenario. They should have done it, for Copa Libertadores, to be honest. But I mean, they added lights, when they were going to play their first Libertadores.
Right.
But anyhow, I just think, because I was thinking about this, like, before Sambuesa went there, it's like Toluca doesn't really have they were trying to bring Sina back, but Sina's already past his prime.
Sina is like older than me.
Yeah. So that's my point. Yeah. So it's like they don't have a player that's emblematic of the team.
What, Toluca?
Yeah, Toluca.
Well, I mean, their last one was they had the goalie Cristante, who's probably their last one.
That's it. I mean,
and of course, Cardoso before him, and Estay, and that whole group.
Yeah, but Stay was a while back.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're right. They just haven't had anybody.
The one that they should have kept.
Are you saying that Sambuesa cambia centenarios? Is that what you're saying?
I think so, because I mean, the one that they probably should have kept. What's his name? Hector what's his name? Mancia.
Oh, the Chilean guy. Yeah, he was terrific.
He was terrific with him, and who was also terrific with him? That Panamanian dude. Shit, I forget his name.
Man, isn't it just amazing how much Toluca has struck gold at that?
Yeah.
Did they have Vicente Sanchez?
Yeah.
And I mean they've done really well at Toluca. As far as Sambuesa moving there, Ronnie, you know how I feel about Sambuesa. I think he's a terrific talent, and I think you've said it. And I agree with you. I don't think anyone is a better ball handler in the league than he is. He's just terrific. But I think America started to realize that wasn't enough. He wasn't doing enough to merit the bad stuff, and that's why they got rid of him. And you can do the bad stuff as long as the good stuff is, you can get away with it. He just, to quote Artie, the great producer in the Larry Sanders Show, when the writer was getting fired, saying you got to be a genius to get away with that stuff. Well, guess what? You're not getting away with it. And he just quit he couldn't get away with it anymore. That they had to get rid of him.
Do you think Nacho would have done better had they gotten rid of him first?
Not necessarily. I mean, it just, Sambuesa he had a really good run in America. I mean, and that was the other thing, Ronnie, that I thought was real interesting is that America gave him a hero send off. They're like, gave him a parade down the street practically with how they let him go with all the thank yous and the everything else. Which of course they did the same thing with Moy. But I mean, when you think of Sambuesa, do you think that he's an America legend? I mean, would you put him up there in the pantheon of great America players?
No.
Well, I mean, he's won the title, so I mean, I you can't take that away from him. But I wish he would have done a little bit more.
No.
No,
I wouldn't consider him.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I think that I mean, he had some not, but it's he's not a Vasco or like a Brailovsky or somebody who was just an amazing and brought many glories to America. Yeah. What about Moy? Would you consider Moy an America legend?
For a keeper, I think he won. I mean, if anything, he won the hearts, of the people.
He's the people's keeper.
Mm-hmm.
And they treated him dirty.
So you're very sympathetic to Moy's case right now.
Beto, what do you say they treated him dirty?
Well,
he's trying to get a rise out of me.
I'm scrolling through the Club America Facebook, and I see like 3 or 4 times Gracias Rubens, and then once I see a picture of Moises, along with the other players, Osvaldo Martinez and the Gringo guy. So even from the beginning, I think they just like diss these dudes, man. They're like, get the heck out of here. I saw a tweet on the Osvaldo Martinez. I didn't read it though, so I know he was complaining about how they treated him. on his exit. I don't know the details though.
What did they told me they put ice in my Coke, but they didn't. They gave it to me warm and flat. I mean, what kind of treatment was he expecting?
I have no idea. I mean, I'll try to find it.
They drained all the water out of my windshield wipers in the car.
Besides ending up at a horrible team, like for that, I sympathize, but I don't see. Is it really America's responsibility to? I mean, if they're already made the choice that they're going to go in a different direction with a keeper, is it really their concern who their former keeper goes to? I mean, is it really their job to ensure that he goes to a team that's going to challenge them for a title?
No, my problem is getting rid of him in the first place. Like keeping Moises Munoz and not getting Marchesín isn't going to win them a title. Isn't going to probably get.
Well, and you're exactly right, Chiquis. Because I mean, honestly, can anyone without question say Marchesín is a much better goalkeeper than Moises Munoz?
I don't think you can say he's a much better, but he's a better.
Yeah, but he's not like an impact player where games are.
I think he is
because of.
Well, I think that they're both.
I think Moy's good enough to be the same.
They're interchangeable.
Yeah. And the loyalty thing, I think about that because Marchesín didn't even want to come to America. Moises has been with America and loves America, the team, the colors, everything, and they're just going to boot him to the side.
Oh,
no matter where.
I think that's kind of naive for anybody to expect anything different.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. But for goalkeepers, like if it was Cristiano Ronaldo and you're getting rid of like Zambuesa or something, then I would understand.
I will say that I sympathize in the sense that he's always seemed to be the most unsung hero. I mean, even with the national team. So in that aspect, but I just think it's bad luck for him. I don't think anybody's necessarily treated him like. I don't think maybe perhaps they didn't appreciate him enough. But as far as them replacing him, I mean, if they think Marchesín is that much better that it's worth a switch, then it's on them. But I mean, I don't see any issue with him. He needs to do whatever he is best for himself. Unfortunately, none of the better teams in the league are looking for a keeper. He's just like the tragedy of kind of like a collateral damage, almost.
Well, I mean, maybe that's why. I don't know. It just seems like just very unfortunate for Moy, and it seems like he was being almost punished for something. So
my deal is if I'm going to get excited for a new signing, it's not the goalkeeper. It's going to be a forward or a midfielder or some type of position like that. But the goalkeeper,
that's true.
Like who cares?
It's not very sexy. Not the sexiest of signings. So as far as picking a winner out of those teams, I mean, it's really impossible. But
I only get excited for the cheerleaders, but that's just me.
Have you ever been to a Texas A&M football game, Ronnie?
No.
No.
No, never wanted to either. It's a fucking cult. My name's a cult.
But you'll have a hard time finding cheerleaders on that sideline.
Why? No cheerleaders?
No, they have yell leaders. And they're dressed like ice cream salesmen. So
sounds great.
Didn't Sports Illustrated say that was like the best college football experience? Like,
the reality is I mean, because I've only been for Texas A&M games, so I mean, that the intensity at that is crazy, and so they get. I mean, when they were doing well, the place is there's no question it's electric. It is electric. I mean, it's. And then they have their thing that they're so proud of. They start swaying when they're singing their stupid song, and like the whole stadium's swaying, and you can kind of feel it give a little bit. And there's a little sign in the press box that says, "Now don't be alarmed, but there might be some times when we're singing and the stadium starts swaying a little bit. So just be warned, it's going to happen." And it's, I mean, you barely feel it, but
John, you obviously have that perspective of the college football game.
Sure.
How does it compare to the atmosphere in soccer? Is it more passionate? I mean,
well, it depends. I mean, I've never really been to a game, at least on a club level, where there's been two sides, etc. So I would assume that it's very similar. I mean, because it's a local thing. I mean, at least for the Texas A&M game. I mean, I have a hard time believing that Aggies are human with the way that they think and act. I mean, it's no disrespect to Aggies, but it's like how can you and I be the same thing? But but I've never been to. I'm sure that like a Boca, River Plate, or a real intense rivalry like that, which is what Texas A&M was. I'm sure that there'd be a lot of similarities. I mean, have you guys ever been to one of the clásicos, Joel or Ron? Have you guys ever experienced that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure that your heart was in your throat for most of it.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, I think the collegiate sport, for the rivalries, is probably the closest that it comes to in terms of like rivalries, because you don't even see that really in the sports, in the professional sports here in the U.S. Whereas opposed to like when you go to in soccer, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, where you have that hatred. I still think it's more in soccer than it is in American sports.
Well, I mean, that's where I think that may be so overall, but I do agree with you in the sense that as far as the intensity of a rivalry, the closest thing that resembles anything in soccer is college football, particularly. And I think a lot of that has to do because of the local tribalism. I mean, this is the closest thing that Americans have to that kind of, like people say, I was born into Barcelona or whatever it is. I mean, a lot of people are born into whether you attended the school or not. I mean, it's, people usually end up taking sides, and obviously there's some people that went to, they have huge fan bases. Other people that did go to their schools, and it's
our high schools had some pretty good ones.
No, man, there's no comparison.
Yeah, trust me.
People go to like American football games in Mercedes-Benz and things like that.
Right.
In Mexico, like when I went to the Azteca game against Canada, I had a couple of uncles come with me. They said they would never take their families to that game, to a Mexican game, and that doesn't happen in like college football or NFL. People go as families, that's fine, but the passion and the craziness that goes on in the stadiums.
The cool experience. Well, I don't know about cool. I guess cool because I was a kid at the time when I went to it. But it was a local high school basketball game. Salesian Cathedral, two small Catholic schools in LA, and so bad. I mean, there was like a line of cops dividing both sides, like in between like halftime and before and after the game, and everybody had to exit in certain directions just because that's how like violent and crazy it would get.
Dan, I actually went to Cathedral.
Oh, wow, cool. All right, I didn't know.
Did you play basketball, Joel? Were you involved in games?
I played Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, so you know firsthand how that rivalry went.
No, not really. I didn't go to any of the games.
Did you make varsity, Joel?
No, I honestly did play Dungeons and Dragons.
I know. I'm asking you if you made varsity.
How would I make varsity if I'm playing that?
Did you have a Dungeons and Dragons letter jacket?
No, none of that, dude. A couple nerds in the basement, dude.
And Dan, that's surprising, right? When you say that the police were there, that's surprising. But that's an everyday thing in Mexican soccer or in any soccer stadium. Police are there to divide. Police are there to protect fans. Police are there all the time.
Do you remember a couple of years ago that fight between Gallos and Cruz Azul, where it was a full-on Royal Rumble?
That's the one where the guy ripped the chair off, was smacking the guy with the chair.
I don't remember, but the game was played. It wasn't played at the Estadio Azul or in Querétaro. It was played, I think, like in Hasso or and it was just
Doesn't Cruz Azul have like a stadium that they put like once a year in, like in Hidalgo or something like that?
Yeah, it's like where the company's at.
Cruz Azul Hidalgo, I think.
Yes. Dude, it was. I just remember Football Picante. They just went all sanctimonious, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh god, it happens. These things need to happen.
Hey, I just saw a promo just real quick. Joel, I was very happy with the one cameo that I wanted to see the most in Rogue One, and it happened.
Are you talking about Vader?
No. I'm talking about the you know how they powered up the Death Star in Star Wars with the fader bar off the TV switcher.
No spoilers.
Well, the fader bar made it into. Oh, dude, it's not a spoiler. The fader bar made it into Rogue One. I thought it was great.
You were looking forward to that.
That was my favorite part of the whole movie. Hey, the Grass Valley switcher made it again. That's awesome. All right. Anyway. So if I had to pick a team, you know, I said Pachuca earlier with what I wrote with Joel, but I mean, honestly, picking a team to win Liga MX is like the weather in Amarillo. I mean, it's just things change week to week in that league. So who knows? You just don't know. I think anybody that gambles on Liga MX, like picks teams to win championships, has to be a real degenerate. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, who could ever handicap Liga MX?
Joel. We used to have that prediction leagues.
I mean, seriously, how would you guys do? Would you guys do like, you know, hey, I got 6 out of the 8, or 3 out of the 9 games right. I'm the best one of the week. It's just so hard.
Joel did kill it one year. He was a spot on.
I was, but you know what? It's changed a lot. It's not a lot, but it's.
We just don't watch as many games as we used to anymore, though. That also.
Yeah, that is true. At that point, I used to not only watch so many games, but I used to like read everything I could up on it.
Yeah, I mean, same here, dude. I mean, I used to watch every single game, and I also used to read everything, you know, from Esto, Ovaciones, you know, Jornada, you know, whatever, anything that was available online, whom I would read.
But the league has made it a point. I think they try to follow the NBA in the whole try to even out the teams
with the parity.
Yeah, so I think that's one thing Liga MX started pushing for, and that's what has made it a bit more difficult.
Well, yeah, it's tougher. I mean, teams have more money, and they can, they're able to compete.
Yeah, but I'm saying that before, you rarely had. I don't remember like a Moises Munoz going to a Jaguares back then. Not. You had like Campos going to Puebla, but he had been playing really bad, and Munoz is playing pretty good.
Well, keep in mind when Campos went to Puebla, Puebla had also gotten that Chicho Serna from Boca. I mean, they spent a lot of money because they were trying to fight relegation.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I even remember, they were interviewing. In fact, it was Roxana Franco. They were interviewing Chicho Serna. It's like, so why come to Mexico and Puebla? And he didn't even hide it. He just made that money sign. I was like, what a fucking prick, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but
because he thought he was all special because he come from Boca and everything, Do you remember him?
Yeah, Colombian guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch, and that's one thing that I hear a lot of writers, a lot of the newer writers, especially the English.
Yeah.
And how they talk about, because of the 10-8 rule, that it did improve the quality of the league. And it's like, I actually haven't seen it improve. You know,
Yeah.
not from before where you have some teams play good, but we had some teams that played really spectacular.
Well,
You know,
well, the argument is that you were going to have much better Mexican players because you were going to get the cream of the crop, the ones that were able, going to go through the sieves and filter onto the to the first division. I'm not seeing it yet. So like to your point, it's like I haven't seen the league improve head over waters here.
Well, just after the 10-8, as I rudely interject. Well, I mean, geez, it's only been one season. I mean, you gotta let these things take time. You can't. I mean,
yeah, but have you seen any team that really stands out? Like in the past, we saw Toros Neza with Ojitos Mesa.
Well, what two teams play the most foreigners on their starting lineup?
Tigres, I think.
And
Tigres
who's the other one?
Monterrey should be.
And America. And
America's.
But here's the thing, John. There are certain things that you could that were almost right away. Like for example, the goals scored from '96 from the long season, from the long season format to the short season within a year. Within 2 seasons, you were the amount of goals in one short season was basically more than the amount of goals scored in a long traditional season. And part of that had to do with the teams basically not when you had the long seasons, teams were able to form that that core group, which you weren't able to do in the short season because you were able to change things,
Right.
So I mean, there's certain change. I mean, certain things that you can't, you're able to detect almost right away. Whereas and I'm hoping that the 10-8 rule is one of those, because if it's not, you're gonna see the fall in the national team eventually.
But how do you? I mean, what are the metrics for deciding whether or not a league is good? Is it goals scored? Is it maybe the defending got really good?
Well, the defending, we were coming up with great keepers and great defenders then because we had a lot of good foreign players.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like so that's what I'm asking you. How are you personally going to determine whether or not a league is improved or not based on the new rules? And when do you think you absolutely need to see a difference?
I think when you start seeing more depth and a lot more positions.
Okay. And you're not seeing that now.
Well, I think Osorio was given a great team to begin with. So I mean, we're saying that
Oh, so now we're talking national. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this, Ronnie. If Chivas has a good season, that's good news for Osorio.
Speaking, if they have a good season, I heard what's the name? Almeida talk today, interview, saying that he would love to win the Liga. Saying that he'd be celebrating 2 days at the Minerva.
Yeah, Ronnie. Honestly, if Almeida sounded like this, would you feel better about him?
What's that?
If he sounded like this, if he spoke like this,
siempre digo que el fútbol algunas veces, en mi punto de vista, es como un ajedrez.
Would you feel better about him? About Almeida?
How about what he needs to sound more like Bigoton?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's for Holy. I don't know. That's for the Cambia Rayas.
Cambia Rayas is not with us tonight. I guess he must be on his Pachuca week because he only comes on here to give us just this. Ronnie, you were subjected to it last week. This endless chattel about Chivas, just this speaking the fifth team central defender in 1970. Oh my God, it's just
when they start talking into the whole Chivas thing, I just start hearing bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just
and it's just one big argument after another. It's like a civil war. It's just awful.
And then and then you have fake Chivas like Pern, you know.
Yeah.
Fake Chivas.
Yeah, so of course we love Juan and we always enjoy it when he's on the show. But you and Juan Joel, it just and then when we try and stop it, like one of you just has to get the last chingazo, and just like, let me just end with this point. Wham! And then like 5 minutes later, let me go back to that point you made. It just starts all over again for like the next 20 minutes. That's why we were on the show for 5 hours last week, which is impossible. If I did have to pick anybody, honestly, I would pick Pachuca. But now I'm thinking I might have to revise my thing and say Tigres wins the Conca Champions and Pachuca wins the league.
I want to approach.
Although I would love it if Pumas won one or the other, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. Not for my Pumas. But Ronnie, we do think though that if Chivas does have a good season, then that's going to be good for Osorio, because that means he's going to have Mexican players that are playing well in the local league. And frankly, not too many teams field that many Mexican players. So it would bode well for him. And same thing with Pumas. So you Mexico fans, you better hope that both Chivas and Pumas start playing better, because it's going to be the teams that feed the national team for the next few years. Which is how it should be, right, Joel?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and we're already seeing a little bit of. I haven't seen that many more players coming through for the next cycle.
Now, about Juan Carlos Osorio, I think all of us are in agreement that his chances of being fired are a lot higher than not. So I think that there's he has to meet he basically has to meet a minimum requirement in order not to be fired for each step that he's taking in the next few months. So,
but you know what, John? So sometimes if you have a group of dirigentes that are not convinced with your overall vision or just with how the team is playing, they would push to get you sacked, which is what happened with Bora. They weren't convinced with how the team was playing, because Bora's team had already qualified with three match games to go or something, and they still sacked him just because they weren't convinced with how his team played. And same with La Puente, who replaced him, and this is a guy that won us a Confederations Cup, right? And all of a sudden they felt, okay, we really like how Hito's teams play, and this is how the selección could be playing, and they went with him, and then it ended up pretty bad. But I think that happens a lot where you have a group, they combine, and they'll push to get you sacked. Even even with La Volpe, he was going to get sacked if he had lost his first game against Costa Rica.
So who do you think is pulling the strings right now at FMF? Do you think that there's a pro Osorio and a contra Osorio contingency right now?
It's always been like that, and that was one of the reasons Almeida still has a job. Vergara was against Vucetich when he got sacked, and he got sacked after 2 games, and we're talking about one of the most reliable Mexican coaches.
Sure.
And didn't give him enough time, and I mean, do you really think he wasn't going to be able to beat New Zealand?
Because it was Vuce's fault that Chicharito whiffs on an open net. Yeah, that was all on Vuce.
He came in a really bad time, but I mean, you're going to play New Zealand, so it's not like. Right. And you have very capable coach. Well, but Vergara was one of the coaches that voted to boot him, and then when Chivas tried to hire him, which was when they had hired I keep forgetting the GM's name. This
isn't gonna devolve into one of your
no, it's not. But
Chivas shame spirals, is it?
No. But eventually, Chivas tried to hire him and he didn't go just because of Vergara. So So I really can't tell who is for and who's against, but I'm pretty sure there is a contingent of of dirigentes, club owners that are against Osorio.
Well, it seems to me like now the Atlante group that's there right now, it's Cantu and Baños, obviously. How did these guys get to be so? Was it because of their time at Atlante? Because they're obviously really tight with. I can't remember if it's with Compean or with Decio, but they're all like really tight. So I guess my question is, where did that happen? And it's. Anybody know?
Ron should be versed with this America politics.
But
What's up?
That's the thing is, I don't necessarily think they are from America, and then I think that's. I think that eventually, if things go bad for that particular group, then that's when, maybe that's when Osorio's time is up, and they have to come in and clean the mess, which they've done many times.
Yeah, because the Pachuca group was the one pushing to get in Bielsa, and that never happened. You even had Fassi traveling to go,
right?
Try to establish talks.
So, with Osorio's schedule, so he has 2 hexagonal games in March. Then he has 2 more in June, and the ones in June they're both in Mexico, so they don't even have to leave the country before they go to Russia to play the Confed Cup. They don't have to, like they did last time, where they went where'd they go to?
Panama,
Jamaica, Mexico, and then they went to the Confed Cup. Yeah. So anyway. So there's got to be a minimum threshold that he has to meet at each of these stops in order. And I know what you're saying, Joel, but I think that coaches, that happens to a coach when they're winning. Well, he's not necessarily winning. So if out of they play, I think it's is it Costa Rica, then they go to Trinidad in March. So out of those 6 points, how many does he need in order to not have to worry about losing his job?
If he's playing at home, he's gonna have to win all the home games.
So he has to get 3 for sure, and then they're going to Trinidad. So does
at least a point.
So 4. So 4 points.
But John, like I mentioned in our column, I do think when it comes to like Confederation Cup, I think they're gonna be like analyzing just how the team plays and how they play against some of these top teams, and if they're not convinced that the team is in the right direction, they could still sack him.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to do that though, because I think they want to complete it. I don't think they would much rather have a reason, as far as results. I'd much rather they have results be the reason than they're only winning 1-0, so you have to I think it has to be results. So that's why I think that these upcoming. The upcoming schedule to me were like mini tests for him. Like he has to have, this many, otherwise he's gone. The next one, he has to have, imagine, in June, they play Honduras and the States at home. And frankly, you couldn't ask for 2 better games to prepare for the Confed Cup than Honduras and the U.S. at home. That really, they don't have to go to the States to play 3 games and then go to, I'm saying that's plenty. Those are 2 high pressure games for Mexico, and especially at home. Because they're the teams that have beaten the Mexico at home recently. The two losses they've had at the Azteca were Honduras and the U.S. So if they don't get and again what's the minimum there? Is 4 points acceptable? I would say 4 points are acceptable there because it's your 2 toughest opponents.
John, but you're going with logic.
I know I'm going with logic. Well, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is that they won't be able to fire him if they lose one of those because they have the Confed Cup. So at that point, the Confed Cup becomes just a massive pressure cooker. So, So to me, it's almost like his entire existence, his future as a coach in Mexico will lie on those 2 games, the Honduras game and Mexico City game. And, there's a very good chance, I'm not sure how far down the list they are as far as like the protocol and on what they do to find people, like your first offense, second offense, third offense. I'm not sure how far down the list is. You're playing in an empty stadium. I know it's coming up, and the U.S. could either say it's not going to be at the Azteca, which frankly might be a good thing, or they say you got to play in an empty stadium. I mean, that's coming, Joel. So those 2 games are for me the key to Osorio's future in Mexico. If he can get decent results there, the Confed Cup. I think the Confed Cup, honestly, I'm sure people would want Mexico to advance to the next round, and then they can do it. But I mean, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen.
But see, that's where we see the media will backstab you because, with Chepo they were calling it a fracaso, and the team didn't really get outplayed, and they played Brazil and Italy, and
Mexico's best game was against Brazil because they took the the early beatdown, but they came back really strong.
Yeah, and
they
I know
played really well.
They spinned it in a way, and if you read the forums like Big Soccer, and people are convinced that the team could have done better, or that they played really bad, but we're playing World Cup champion teams.
Yeah, 9 World Cups between them, and one of them at home.
And people were mad, and I'm like, we're nowhere near the level of those teams. I don't know where these expectations came from. Well, I kind of do know, but it's the same again with Osorio. The team could be headed down the right direction. All of a sudden, for some reason they don't like it. They'll just they'll throw everything at him, and fans are, Mexico fans are proven to be very fickle. I seen them go from La Puente para Presidente to Fuera La Puente.
It could happen in the same game.
Yeah, over a bad Gold Cup. So
we'll see that. So that'll be the next step. So if he survives the Confed Cup, honestly, I think then he'll be fine through Russia. But if he has a bad June, then he's gone.
That's my thing, John. What is surviving? Because to me, if the team looks good and they didn't qualify to the second round, which happens for a lot of reasons, you could even get the points. It could have been goal differential, and it just didn't happen.
Right.
But the team still look good and they're in the right path. They could still call it a fracaso and sack him, So he would have to at least get to the semifinal.
No, I mean I don't think that. Well, yeah, if you make it to the next round, it's in the semifinals. So it goes.
They'd accept that.
Yeah, it's 8-4.
If the team looks good and they don't continue on in the tournament, then...
Well, see, but that's what I'm saying though. Is that if Mexico wins or does well in the games against the U.S. and Honduras, if they get 4, if they get 6, even better, right? Then it won't matter what they do in the Confed Cup. That's the point I'm trying to make. They could go 3-0 and it won't matter. But if they lose one of those, or if they only come out say with 1 point out of the Honduras US, and they do badly at the Confed Cup, then he's gone. But they can't get rid of him before the Confed Cup, so that's why those 2 games are so important to him. Because then the Confed Cup can just be an exercise. Well, let's go see what we can do. Because we're coming back next year, so let's use this as a dress rehearsal. Let's try some stuff. But if he's going in there having lost to the U.S. or to Honduras, he's going to have a lot more pressure. The team's going to have a lot more pressure.
Well, if they lose to the U.S. or Honduras and get 1 point or something, or 3 points, is that going to put them in danger for qualifying? Because I don't
think so. But again, it all depends on what happens in these 2 games. So
yeah, don't worry too much then.
Well,
unless they're
I'm just telling you that's because after that they're only going to have 4 games. They're going to have 4 games to qualify, and if they're like in major problems, then yeah, he's going to be in major problems, and that's when Tuca will come in and save the day.
If they survive, if they let him through a 7-0 with all that heat, I think they'll let him through a lot any type of little bumps in the road and for Confederate.
Well, yeah, but see, that's the thing though, is that the 7-0 was allowed because he didn't lose. If he had looked badly, didn't look all that good against Canada, whatever it is, if they win any of those games, or if they lost a few of those, then yeah, that 7-0 would have cost him his job. But because he hadn't lost yet, so the 7-0 was, forgiven somewhat. But I mean, it was, let's just say that his account was debited dramatically out of that 7-0, and he's having to, he needs to make some deposits in order to have, restore some faith is what he needs to do. And the only way he's going to do that is to get 4 points from the first 2 games, and probably 4 points. That would give them 12 points with 4 games left to play. And I think in the last one, they got 3. I mean, did they even make 12 points in the last one? I don't think they did they?
Hey, gentlemen, I got to call it a night.
All right, Ronnie. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
We'll see you guys
later on.
Yeah. So they only won once on the road, and they tied. So they had 4 points on the road, and they only won once at the Azteca. They tied twice, and they lost the other one.
Well, if the fans are going to
so they had 9 points.
If the fans are going to turn on the coach, is going to be in the Azteca, unless the new change for this year is that Pancho Villa's army is going to be there, and if the fans start turning on the team, I don't know if the PBA is going to do so. So they might.
Wait at this. Yeah, but you're talking about like what 90K stadium, and they're gonna have like what 500 fans.
It's gonna be hard, but I mean, if they can,
they will make a bleep, dude. Without due respect.
Well, at least in that section, it's like right in the player's face. Like if the whole stadium is whistling.
Yeah, but Azteca is general admission, man. So Pancho Villa can be wherever. They better rope it off quick because that place is general admission.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I would assume they would get their own little section, but.
Well, it used to be. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, when you just went there, did you have an assigned seat, or was it general admission?
Yeah, we had assigned seats.
You did. Okay, so maybe they've changed it because it used to be general admission. Of course, that was like 20 years ago. I'm sure things are different now.
Yeah, there's assigned seats. We're split up. Our group was split up even. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do, but.
Okay, well, it looks like we're at a good place to stop. So, I guess my last question, Joel and Chiquis, I'll ask y'all before we end the show is: does Osorio make it past the Confed Cup?
I think so.
Good question, John. I honestly don't know. I'm looking at the crystal ball, and it's cloudy.
The Magic 8 Ball is not giving you a clear signal. No.
What are the two teams? Honduras and the U.S. are the two qualifiers before Confederations, right?
Yeah, and they're both in Mexico.
Oh, they're gonna win those, man. This is like a weekend CONCACAF. This round, I think. So those should be wins for sure, and they're gonna go into Confederations just cruising, just to experiment, like you were saying. And it should be no problem for him, even if they go 3 and out.
So you're thinking, so he'll be there. I guess it all really depends on how they play in Mexico, obviously, because the 3 out of the 4 games are in Mexico. So if they struggle at home, I think that he'll be done after the Confed Cup. But if they, Chiquis, if you're right. If they, say out of these 12 points, they end up getting 10. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if something crazy happened and they did, then they're practically in the World Cup. I mean, it would take just a major calamity for them not to make the World Cup at that point. So that would be that. But I personally think the target should be 12 points. I think if they get 12 points. And remember, they've already stolen 3. They've already stole 2 points from the U.S. So they have those in the bank they haven't started, holding serve at the Azteca or wherever they play, Azteca or wherever. That's where they'll, how will determine how quickly they're able to qualify if they do qualify. So we'll see how that works out. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I'm glad we were able to kind of sort of start on time this week. So it's always a pleasure to talk to you guys. We had a good conversation. It was good.
You.
And luckily for us, we get to watch some Liga MX games again this weekend. Just as football ends, it's perfect. Just as football starts winding down, Liga MX picks up. So that hopefully will ease some of our burdens on the weekend. Joel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Good luck this week. And I want my team to win.
Same to you, Joel. I hope that, although, historically, at least in this century, Chivas Pumas games have been like just terrible bores. Like there's so many 0-0 games. I mean, serious. They're just a ton of them. But I know that
I agree.
The last one, Pumas won 1-0, but was on an autogol. But I used to bet that stuff, but I can't bet because every time I bet a Pumas game, they lose. So
You jinx. I'm the same, John.
Yeah. Well, then somebody would break their curse if we made a bet. See, the other thing I do is I always bet like Avatar Avies, and then I tweet for a few times, and I just don't tweet for that week, so no one has to see my Chivas with a pink bow in the hair, or not Chivas, Pumas, or like I had to be Batocletti from the 70s. and then one time I had to be something from America. Oh, it was awful for a week. I'd suggest, let me be Chespirito in a chanfle. That to me would be an acceptable. So if you ever lose an Avatar bet, Joel, if you get to choose your America Avi, just choose the one with Chespirito as a chanfle. Then it would ease. It would ease the pain. All right, gentlemen. Chiquis, thanks very much.
Yeah, man.
For setting all this up, and thank you everyone out there for listening on the Los Acero. I'm sorry, the CantinaMX podcast. I know we had some folks listening to us. We had Daniel Escaña que dice no sé inglés. Sorry, Daniel. Hopefully we'll speak English hablemos un poco más español para la próxima. No te preocupes. And Sergio Cruz was on, so thank you, Sergio, for joining us. And Javier Venegas says Chivas is overrated. They haven't played a game yet, but they're already overrated.
No, hey, they finished top 4 two seasons in a row, man. That's
right.
I don't know how you call.
They might be overpriced, but they're not
overhyped.
Well, but, Fernando would be the first to tell you that Chivas is the most hyped team in the league.
Yeah, overpriced and overhyped, but definitely not overrated. Their stats speak for themselves.
Well, I hope it works out for you, Hoyt. I mean, I want to hear you belt out the song at the end of the season. I think it'll something that you'll have no problem doing. So, thank you, and thank you all, Chiquis, and thanks to Ronnie and to Dan, who joined us earlier that had to fall off. I really appreciate y'all joining us on the CantinaMX podcast. Thanks very much for listening. You can listen to this again live every Wednesday night on YouTube around 9:30 p.m. Central. And of course, you can listen to this podcast and all of our previous editions on iTunes. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll talk to you next week. Águilas del América, su cumpleaños no estuvo padre. Se plagiaron el himno del centenario, me cae de madre.